Hi everybody and welcome to Barefoot Radio, the show that aims to guide and support you in connecting, transforming and growing in all things love, soul and spirit. I am your host, Leanne, the Barefoot Medium. I'm an international medium, twin flame, transformational coach and author. And I am absolutely passionate about reconnecting people with their loved ones who've passed over, as well as providing people with practical knowledge and guidance, tools and techniques they can use in their everyday lives to embrace what they love and what brings them into connection with their joy so they can be more of their authentic selves. Feel free to kick off your shoes, sit back, relax and enjoy today's show where I am joined by Sora, a no-diet weight loss coach who healed herself of compulsive eating and has since helped hundreds of unhappy dieters do the very same thing. Sora teaches her program to private clients, both online and offline, and her recent book, Eat What You Want, Stop When You Want, a no-diet weight loss program, became a #1 Amazon bestseller when it was published last July. Not only is Sora here on Barefoot Radio to share her story, we will also be discussing the topic, eating what you want. Welcome, Sora.
Hi, it's great to be here, Leanne.
It's so amazing to have you here and to be able to share your knowledge and wisdom with our listeners today. Before we get started, tell me a little bit about your background and how you came to do what you're doing.
Well, that's a great question. So my story is that over 20 years ago, I used to teach really challenged kids in East New York, Brooklyn. And these were kids who walked, talked, and did all those other things. And over time, they listened to me. And at the same time, I used to diet, take off the weight, and put it back on. Well, one day I looked out at these 35 faces, and I said, hey, Sora, these kids that can be so unruly listen to you. How come they listen to you, but food has no animate qualities, you can't stop thinking about it, and you can't stop eating? And I had an aha moment, which was, you know what? I'm not going to let food get me. I'm going to get it. And I stopped dieting, and I decided to have any food I wanted, but I did journal every eating experience for years and years and years. As a result, I took off 25 pounds, which I've kept off since '84. And at that moment, when I reached my 25-pound goal weight, I knew I could transfer my classroom management techniques to food management techniques. And I developed this easy-to-use eat and stop yourself no diet system.
Wow. And, you know, one of the things that I want to pick up in amongst that for the listeners today is you mentioned the up and down and what people sometimes refer to as that yo-yo dieting.
Oh, well, that was my life. And, you know, I used to diet. I'm originally from Brooklyn, so I used to go to Weight Watchers and do all those diets. I did everything perfectly. I leveled every tablespoon. I had peas 3 times a week. And no matter what I did, Leanne, I always reached my goal weight and then put it right back on. So I knew something was wrong. And what I've learned over the years is that I don't like to do things twice. I'd rather take a long time creating the foundation and then have it for the rest of my life. So I knew that if those kids could listen to me that were incorrigible, that food that didn't have those human qualities, there had to be a way. And I became obsessed in finding a new way to manage food, and I have.
And talk to me a little bit about how you know, what some of the challenges were that you faced with those up and downs and with Weight Watchers and that experience, because I know that some of our listeners will relate to your story, and I have had some struggles as well. So talk to me a bit about the challenges you faced.
Well, here's what happened. So, you know, that's a really good question, but if you don't mind, I'd like to couple that with what I talk about in chapter 1 of my book, which is why diets don't work. Can I do that? Because then you're
Absolutely.
going to see. All right. So I want you and your listeners to think of a diet as a clock. At 12 o'clock on top, you go on this diet. And these are rules made up by 4 corporate people sitting in a boardroom that decide what you can eat, what you can't eat, and don't trust your own choices, because that's why you came to us, because we're the holy grail of what you can and cannot put in your mouth, because you say you want to get healthier and lose weight. Okay, so that's 12 o'clock. So you say, okay, I can't do it on my own, so you go on a diet. Now, let's go to 3 o'clock. Good, good, good. Yay, I'm being so good. I'm on a diet. I'm listening to the rules of those 4 folks in the boardroom. I lost 2 pounds. You know, maybe I'll buy that dress. Maybe I can put a deposit on the cruise, or maybe I can go out and start looking for a guy or a gal, depending who's listening. Okay, so you're good, good, good. However, at 6 o'clock, you either diet, binge, or food overeat, whatever you call it, because that's a double-sided coin, because what you're really doing is, by binging, going off the diet, you're doing the only thing you can do to get back the control from the diet, which you didn't set up to begin with. So you're really doing the only thing you can do to manage yourself. So you go off the diet, you binge till your stomach is out. I'm in New York, out to Australia. You know, I wasn't happy until my stomach touched the mirror, which is about Australia, you know. Yeah. And I put in so I could, on any given diet binge, I could put in 2,500 calories just for my stomach to be bloated, which I'll explain why I did that later on if you'd like. Mm-hmm. And then I'd say, oh my God, look, I can't trust myself. So I beat myself up for doing this. The only thing I could do to take back the control from 12 o'clock, the diet, but by 9 o'clock, I go, oh my God, I cannot do this. Look what I just did. I'm going to 12 o'clock. I'm going back on that diet. Even though there's another binge lurking in the back of your mind, you go back on that diet like a soldier, only to get back to 3 to be good, 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 only to get to 6 to binge, only to beat yourself up, and get to 9 and go back to the diet. Diets don't work because they're not your rules. You're told what you can put in your mouth, how much you can put in your mouth, and when to put it in your mouth. And I say, to heck with that.
I love that, because, you know, in amongst that story, what I'm hearing is a lot of the emotional stuff and the behavior patterns that sabotage our progress, and just putting that in a really simple way for listeners to be able to understand. And, you know, taking back control, self-management, and I talk about guilt, shame, blame, because when we binge, or when we break that diet, so to speak, there's often guilt associated with it. Then we beat ourselves up and shame ourselves, and then we blame either ourselves or everyone or everything around us for not sticking to something, and like you say, that's not our rules to begin with.
Well, you can't win, okay? Like, I like to win. Even if I lose, I like to win. And there's no winning on a diet, because you're following someone else's rule. You're not managing the foods that you want in the way that you want. There's no, you can't maintain it. It's an impossible thing to maintain. Not only that, you must binge. How long can you stay on someone else's rules, okay? So the binge is inevitable because it's part of the process. Yeah. But the thing is, the binging's really good, because what you're saying is, I don't want to be on this diet. I hate this diet. And you know what? You're right. But you did the only thing you could do to get back the management, okay? And then what do you do after you do the only thing you can do to take back the management of the food? Then you beat yourself up. It's a painful place to live.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm totally against it, so forget it.
Yeah, and I love that. I having experienced and moved through that pattern and that cycle, I completely understand it. Talk to me about how, what are some of the key things that you would talk to clients about, or that you've got in your book about managing or taking back that control around food?
Yes. So what I developed is a new way to manage the actual food, because I discovered why we overeat. And so once I saw why we overeat, I was able to develop these techniques. So I'm going to tell you a bit about why someone has a weight challenge, and then I'm going to teach you and your listeners how to use the green technique so that you too can eat and stop without being on a diet. So does that work for you?
Perfect.
Okay. Awesome. So what I discovered was that the reason that I overate was I had what I call the not enough food challenge. all right? The not enough food challenge. So what does that mean? In very simple terms, let's think of a person without a weight problem. Let's say for teaching purposes, that person thinks about food 7 times a day, just as random, okay? Yeah. Now, what the system says is that a person who is weight challenged, they think about food 21 times a day, all right? Now, interesting. The person without a weight problem thinks 7 times about food because every time he eats, he knows he's had enough and he's able to stop himself. But the person who thinks about food 21 times a day, by definition, nothing is enough. And so he can't stop thinking about food and he can't stop eating. So I designed a system that lets you know that you can eat enough food and stop yourself before you even eat. And what that does is it minimizes, it gets you down to 7 times a day from 21. So now you have a non-overweight mind, which is you have a non-overweight mind and a matching non-overweight body. So you go 7 times for the person who has enough food, who can eat and stop, no weight problem. 21 times for the person with a weight problem, nothing they eat is enough. That's why they think 21 times about food. And then the system lets you eat enough and stop before you even eat and gets you back down to 7. So you have a non-overweight mind and a matching non-overweight body. And that's what excites me.
Wow. And wow, I don't even know where to start to ask about that. So,
Can I help you?
Talk to me about some of the steps to train the mind into that non-weight person.
Okay. So let me teach you the green technique. So there are 2 techniques in this system that I developed. And I'm going to share with your listeners and yourself how to use the green technique. The green technique will consistently let you eat and stop even before you put your first bite in your mouth. So I'm going to Yep. So I'm going to teach you what? Yep. So what's your favorite food, Leanne? And I want all your listeners to think about their favorite. What's your absolute favorite food?
Oh, at the moment, I would say curries, Thai curries.
Okay, well, I'm not sure I know what Thai curry is, but let's use Thai curry since that's your favorite food at the moment.
Yeah.
So, Leanne, you now have, do you make it or do you buy it in a restaurant?
Both.
Both, okay. So, being that I never had that before, we'll use that, but I just don't know what it looks like. Okay, so you're in a restaurant and you order your bowl of Thai curry, okay? So before you can, so you're in Sora's system, the Eat and Stop Yourself system. So before you can have the Thai curry, you have to look at it and ask yourself 2 questions. You have to ask yourself, how much is enough and how much is too much? Okay? So now I want you to do that. I want you to take a pretend moment. And I want you to decide how much is enough and how much is too much. I want you to do that right now. Okay, now I want you to actually physically move aside the amount that's too much, called your too much marker. I want you to move it to pretend that your plate's a clock. I want you to move it to a time on your clock. And when you've done that, let me know.
Yep, done.
Okay, so now you're looking at your plate of Thai curry. You have 2 portions there. You have the amount you decided was enough, and then you have the amount that you decided was too much, which you've pushed away.
Yep.
Now you can eat the amount you decided was enough and finish it and know that you ate and stopped yourself because it was enough, and the marker reinforces that. Now, you might say to me, but hey, Sora, I finished the amount of Thai curry, that was enough, but I really want some more. I say to you, okay, you can take some more from your marker, Leanne, but you have to leave a new marker because without that marker, you haven't decided how much is enough and therefore nothing is enough. And you're back at the 21 times of thinking about the curry. But if you want to get to the 7 and have a non-overweight mind and a non-overweight body, then you have to have enough. So as long as you use the marker and decide how much is enough, you're going to get to your weight loss.
So it's really about being more conscious of how you're eating and stepping into, engaging with food and, really taking that mindful step of making a decision and a choice beforehand to go, this is enough and this
Correct.
is too much.
Right. And that's all you have to do.
That.
Yay! And it works. If you consistently use that. Now, let me just throw something in here. Since you're so enthusiastic, I'm going to share something with you and your listeners. Let's say you say to me, let's say you're my client, you go, Sora, I'm using the green technique. I'm using the red technique. I'm deciding how much is enough. I'm setting aside my marker before I eat, but my weight's still not coming off. Then I want you and your listeners to ask themselves this question. Why is enough too much? How much of enough is too much? So if you are having too much of enough, you have to ask yourself, can I cut back?
Okay.
If you're using this green technique and always being mindful, always before you eat, and your weight's still not coming off, then ask yourself, why am I having too much of enough?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what happens is, as you begin to ask yourself those questions, and then the next question you need to ask yourself is, what do I want more? Too much of enough or my weight loss?
Yeah. And I think that comes back to the instant gratification thing, doesn't it?
Well, here's the thing. I'm not about instant. I'm a slow brew. So one of the problems that we as compulsive overeaters have is we want it now. Okay, yeah. We want it now at this moment in time. We always want something in the mouth, and I'm going to help you with that in a minute. But here's the deal. Unless you create a conscious system that will slow you down and give you management over the food in a new way, you're always going to put it in your mouth quickly. But now, in this system, before you can put that food in your mouth, Leanne, you have to ask yourself, how much is enough? How much is too much? Right away, that's going to slow you down. And then you're going to actually physically push to a time on the clock. And then you say, okay, I'm ready to eat now. That whole process is going to send to you like a meditation. I'm going to have enough. I can stop myself. I'm in control. I'm very excited about it.
And that's the first step in managing anything. And I'm thinking about, my book, Shifting Your Shit to Achieve Your Dreams. And that relates to our health and well-being goals as well, which weight loss is part of for many people. And it's really about the thoughts, the emotions, and the actions that we take do create our reality, and transforming that through conscious awareness, which is exactly what you're talking about, and really simple, easy techniques that people can use in an instant. So
in an instant. I mean, that instant took me 30 years, but
yeah. And what a beautiful, amazing gift your experiences and your challenges with weight and eating and food over 20 years has given other people to now be able to share that gift and make it simple and easy for others.
I'm very, very grateful that I was able to turn this around, because I really was in a lot of pain and I really suffered really big time with food. But I decided that I was going to figure this out no matter what. And when I found out that the reason I overate is because I was really starving all the time, that was very eye-opening. I mean, what I realized is no matter what I ate, nothing was enough. And until I could give myself enough, I was never going to be able to stop. And then, I'm a teacher and I'm an educator at heart. And then I began to look at what I used in the classroom to get those kids to learn to manage themselves. And I have this gift. It's just this gift of understanding. And I'm also very kinesthetic. So it's not enough for you to say, look at the plate and say, that's enough, that you must move it. You must take that action.
Yeah. So, and I think that is the key. So I love that because, for me, I work a lot with the law of attraction, with thoughts and, emotions. And part of the law of attraction is about actions. And a lot of people don't take the action they need in order to transform, shift and change their experiences. So I love that you've brought that action into it. And I'm very kinesthetic as well. So thank you for sharing that.
Well, I've journaled for so many years, and action depending on your relationship to action and how it attaches you to your mother and father and going forward and the fear of success and the fear of failure and, it's so complicated. But here's the thing. Once you start managing your food, I'm telling you, the universe sends you new thoughts, new tools, new everything. See, the universe is just waiting for you to say, hey, I can manage this food. And as a reward, you will be sent new tools to step up to these emotional management issues. Mm-hmm. So I'm very confident that if you use the green technique, you will be a much happier camper. You will feel so transformationally empowered. I cannot tell you.
Yeah. And, it's a lot of people have self-worth and self-esteem issues and feeling like they've got limiting beliefs sitting there around not being enough, whether that's around work, career, finances, relationships, or health and well-being physically. So I really love how you bring in that enoughness, if that makes sense.
Well, Leanne, that's really brilliant what you said, because here's what I discovered. I happen to use this technique with everything in my life. So if I'm thinking, I will ask myself with everything, like, am I enough? I say, am I enough? And I am enough, and I am enough because I know that it's me who decides what enough is. You see, a lot of people want validation by the outside as to what is enough. And there's no validation on the outside. It's all an inside job. Yeah. So like even in relationships, like somebody does something, I'll go, how much is enough? What can I take and what can I happen to use that with everything in my life. Like with money, if I make $100 a week, I go, how much is enough? And I go 75. Okay, I'm going to save 25. So I use this technique with everything. It saved my life.
Yeah. And I'm seeing those connections there with every other part of people's lives. So listeners that are tuning into this episode, please comment and share with us how you can relate the enoughness in your life to food.
I love that.
And whether it's a word or not, but I'm going to coin that, enoughness, and how it relates to your life, whether it is around money or food or love, relationships, or any other area that it might relate to for you. So comment on this show and let us know how Sora's technique can help you in your everyday life. Now, Sora, talk to me about, 3 more tips that you might have for listeners to really start being able to enjoy food and eating what they want and experiencing that sense of enough in their life.
Oh, that's a great question. Well, first and foremost, you must use the technique. There's a second technique that works parallel to the first technique, but folks have to get the book for that. Yep. That's the Saucy Susan. That's the Saucy Susan Saucy, whatever. But once you learn, the first thing is you must learn the 2 techniques. Without the techniques, it's kind of impossible to do. But here are some more tips that you can use. I say that you should always eat in the same place. Mm-hmm. In your house, because what you want to do is you should eat in the same place. You should use the same plate and utensils and the color napkin, because you want to minimize the excitement attached to your eating experience, to slow it down the most you can, to have the most mindfulness when you're actually dealing with the real food. So if you're always changing your plate or always changing the color of your napkin, oh, that's gorgeous red. Oh, I forgot to use the green technique this time, but next time I will use the green technique, Or if you're always eating in a different place, the excitement of each location will lessen your mindfulness about the sacred nature of you communing with your food and taking back the control. So I'm very big in limiting the excitement of the whole experience, because folks like us, we need to slow down. And we need to take each element of the eating experience and get it to a very minimally exciting place. Yeah. So I'm really big on keeping things the same.
And I like how you talk about slowing things down, because that brings back into, listeners' awareness the fact that conscious eating is about slowing down and being present with what you're doing, the actions you're taking and what you're taking in to your physical body. And it reminds me of the energy we take in our everyday lives, whether it's thoughts, emotions, or actions from ourselves or other people. And slow down. And like you said, ask, is this enough of what you're taking in?
Exactly. Everyone's on speed. So,
yeah.
Like, everyone's on speed. So, like, I was at a dog shelter today, and I was with this humongous dog, and they gave him food, and he could barely contain himself till she put the food down, and she said, no, sit, and he got it. Okay, so he sat. As soon as she put the bowl down, he went berserk. Okay, he went berserk. He licking that bowl. He didn't leave one shred of food. And I was watching him, and I thought, if I'm not mindful, I could be like that dog. You know, you don't think about it. You just shovel it in your mouth. So, and I choose not to be that way because I understand the pain attached to not managing my food in a mindful way. So that really is a driving factor.
Yeah.
You know.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that with myself and the listeners today. It's so really appreciated, and some really good tips and techniques in there for everyone to take on board. Thank you for joining me on today's show. Please share with listeners, if you can, Sora, where they can buy a copy of your book if they're interested, or connect with you further.
Well, yes, Leanne, my website is www.nodieting.net, NODIETING.net, nodieting.net, and they can get a copy of my book either in digital or paperback on Amazon.com or Barnes & Nobles, or they can order a copy at their local Barnes & Nobles.
Awesome. And can people connect with you through Facebook or social media outlets as well?
Yes, my hashtag is hashtag No Diet Coach, and I'm on Facebook. My page is Make Peace with Food. Let's see, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on everything.
Okay,
I'm on
great.
LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook. Yeah, this was
great.
Awesome.
So, listeners, if you can go and check out Sora's book and website, the book again is Eat What You Want, Stop When You Want, a No Dieting Weight Loss Program. So go and check that out, get your own copy, and share with us on SoundCloud here. Comment below this episode to let us know your thoughts and how you've enjoyed today's show. Thank you once again, Sora, for joining me. For those...
my pleasure.
Pleasure to have you, and it's a really great technique, and I'm going to I'm going to use that myself as well, so thank you.
Awesome. Yay. Oh, great.
For those of you listening who'd like to connect with me further or grab a copy of my book, Shifting Your Shit to Achieve Your Dreams, then jump on my website, thebarefootmedium.com.au, and subscribe to the Barefoot Tribe. Shoes are optional, and you can start enjoying the exclusive benefits of being a member. Also, don't forget to hit follow on Barefoot Radio so that you can gain first access to each episode. You can also connect with me through Facebook, Leanne the Barefoot Medium, Instagram, the Barefoot Medium, or YouTube, Leanne the Barefoot Medium. Thank you all so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure having you, and to guide and support you in connecting, transforming, and growing in all things love, soul, and spirit in today's show. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, whoever you are with, I wish you a magical, loving, and joyful week. And I look forward to connecting with you in the next episode of Barefoot Radio.